Hello, welcome. Dr. Sushma Singh this side. Today we start Unit 24 Secularization. Secularization, it is said, stands for a tendency that is broad and basic, primordial and significant in the evolution of human thought and experience. Secularism is not a mere protest or discontent with excesses of religious zeal. Secularism is defined in the Encyclopedia Britannica as a branch of utilitarian ethics designed for the physical, social, and moral improvement of mankind, which neither affirms nor denies the theistic premises of religion. It would be generally correct to say that in the contemporary modern world, any man or woman considers his or her religion as a private and personal affair, governing his or her relationship with some unseen power, God, or whatever one may call it. This relationship should help and not hinder the efficient performance of duties of the individual in other spheres of life. The process of secularization of life and thought consists in the withdrawal and separation of religion from other spheres of life and thoughts. Its essential principle has been to seek for human improvement by material means alone. The main thrust of secularism is towards the secular social issues and reforms which demanded the concreted effort of all persons, regardless of their theological affiliations. The important thing was that those secular issues were to be tackled without any recourse to religious dogmas. Thus, secularism was largely a movement which aimed to improve the lot of people here on earth and emancipate them from all tyranny, whether of the church or of the capitalist social economic order. Etymologically, the word secular originates from the Latin saeculum, which implied great span of time or the spirit of the age. Subsequently, it acquired different meaning, that of belonging to this world. Thus, two words are conceptualized, that is, the secular and the religious, or the temporal and the spiritual. In the Christian discourse, the spiritual order is regarded as decisive in terms of ultimate truth. The term secularization was subsequent outcome. It was coined in 1648 after the Peace of Westphalia, which originally referred to the transfer of ecclesiastical lands to civic control. Secularism is a process whereby religious thinking, practice, and institutions lose their social significance. To speak of secularism is to speak of the trump of science over religion and reason over faith. Secularism is a celebration of man's reason ability to emancipate him or her from the influences of religious customs, beliefs, practices. Therefore, secularism means the inevitable discorrelation of the world. The world loses its sacred character as man and nature becomes the object of rational causal explanation in which the supernatural plays no part. Now let us move to the next point, secularism and secularization, a definition. Secularism is a value-loaded concept. Its values derive from and must be contextualized in our understanding of the underlying social process we call secularization. Secularization is a social process and secularism is a socio-political ideal or ideology. In actuality, secularism can become a reality in our social institutions only in so far as these are affected by secularization. Therefore, secularism is a product of and in turn strengthens the process of secularization. For the truism that there can be no secularism without a process of secularization is now widely accepted. But the challenge of actualizing it through concrete social, political, economic and educational measures is an enormous task. Secularism is above all a product of the Weltsteigung of the Renaissance and Enlightenment. It was expression of the Western man's urge to live his own life independently of the domination by the church, which was the prevalent feature of medieval Western society. Secularism also affirmed the reality and worth of life in this world and the authority of reason and science in all secular matters. The word secularism was coined by George Jacob Holyoake in 1851 to describe the socio-political movement started by himself, Charles Bradlaugh and others. G.J. Holyoake used the term secularism to define an ideology wherein social and industrial morality, hitherto determined by the reference to the transcendental principles of religion, were now to be determined by reason and are firmly anchored to the good of man in this life. Secularism was subsequently projected as a rationalist movement, agnostic or indifferent to religion. The secularism of Holyoake was a simple philosophy which affirmed concern for life in this world, as articulated by the humanistic and positivistic alike. Secularism affirms the worth of this worldly existence, the independence of scientific knowledge and human happiness as the only legitimate aims of social institutions. Holyoake described socialism as a way of thinking and as being concerned with issues that can be tested in this life. According to Iris S. Waterhouse, the relation of secularism to religion was understood as mutually exclusive rather than hostile. Secularism's only concern is that this world be known by experience and reason. It is not concerned about the other world or life after death, or neither offers nor forbids any opinion about these matters. It is willing to leave such questions to theology and is equally indifferent to both theism and atheism. Before adopting the term secularism, Holyoake had considered the term Nadirism and limitationism as alternatives. Holyoake was apparently more interested in encountering the irrationalism of Christian theology than in the negation of religion per se. His second aim was affirmation of the worth and dignity of person and the autonomy of secular life. To begin then, the secularization in the West was hailed as the liberation of modern man from religious tutelage by some, while others bewailed it as Christianization, paganization, and the like. But historically, the process of secularization for the social scientist is intimately linked with the rise of modernity in the West, and some would consider it as perhaps the most significant development of the land several hundred years was the apparent decline in traditional church oriented religion in recent times, then that heightened the process of secularization and brought it to its present culmination. Yet it is a process whose roots can be traced to the very founding of the major religions, and in fact it stands in an ambiguous and dialectic relation to the very phenomena it supposedly undermines. In this perspective, secularism is a Western concept to the extent that secularization is a process that is located in Western society. The term secularization is defined by the Brian Wilson as the process in which different social institutions become recognized as distinct concerns operating with considerable autonomy. It is also a process of decline in religious activities, beliefs, ways of thinking, and institutions. This decline in religious consciousness is the result of the universal acceptance of pragmatic or scientific approach to secular issues. In a secularized society, people turn to science for explanation of natural phenomena and for remedial measures for their mundane problems. They no more take recourse to the supernatural for either cognitive understanding of the world or even for emotional support. As a result, religion in the West has generally become a department of the social order rather than the pervasive or even determinant influence it once was. In another work, Wilson mentions three features of a secular or secularized society, that is, the prevalence of instrumental values, rational procedures, and technological methods. He also defines a secular society as one in which the sense of the sacred, the sense of the sanctity of life, and deep religiosity are most conspicuously absent. Let us see how the concept of secularism is understood in the context of Indian society in our next lecture. Thanks for listening.